Hey, everybody. It's Jamie Spencer and Tanya Peterson, and we're here live tonight to talk about the Great Resignation and how it's impacting OTs. So, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jamie Spencer. I've been a school based OT for 22 years working in Long Island, New York, and I'm so excited to be here tonight with Tanya Peterson.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tanya. I'm also an occupational therapist. I'm in upstate New York, so a few hours away from Jamie. And I'm also a career strategist. So I help healthcare professionals find alignment with their purpose and fulfillment in their careers. So, hello. Thanks for joining us.
So, Tanya, we've been talking a lot lately about the Great Resignation and how it's really everything that's been going on in the society and in education is really impacting, particularly for me. I work in the schools and I'm just seeing a lot of people that are getting ready to retire, just done with work.
Yeah. And it's not even just healthcare or OT related, it is every sector. Every sector is experiencing a lot of kickback from things that were happening over the pandemic. A lot of people, they don't want to go back to the office. They don't feel safe, or in my situation, for example, I have two young kids who were just quarantined all last week.
Right.
So I really feel for parents who have to choose between going to work and getting a salary and also being available to their families and to their children in this crazy time. So yeah, it's across the board that people are resigning left and right. And also, I forget the actual statistic, but in 2020 and 2021, it was the biggest mass exodus of women in the workforce in years, in decades. And it was because, moms, they had to kind of choose where they had to be because schools went virtual. And yeah, it's a challenging time right now. So a lot of people are making some career pivots for sure.
I love that, career pivots. So exactly what do you mean by that? We're not going to totally just give up everything we've been doing and start something brand new, or maybe we are, but I think there's a lot of ways to, like you said, pivot to something similar or within the field, maybe a little different. You're having a lot of your clients that are doing that as a career strategist. People are looking to you for that help.
Yes. So 100%, I would say 95% of our clients come to us because they are unhappy, or the term they like to use is stuck in their current career. And they might have experienced a furlough or a layoff, or they might have had their hours reduced. Assistants, OTAs, PTAs are getting hit hard, especially with all the changes with reimbursement and all that stuff, in addition to the pandemic.
Right.
So a lot of these clinicians are coming to us and saying, I, either have to change my career because I was furloughed, or a lot of things are happening that are not in alignment with my values, and I'm not getting the same amount of hours, or they're just unhappy. They're just generally unhappy. So what they want is they want to still use their skills as an OT or an OTA or a PT or an RN. A lot of nurses leaving right now. But they need to shift. They need to make a shift. Oh, we have a comment. Marie says, it's sad because I was unable to make the decision to get the shot. I had no choice. Working in the Bronx had a spot. Yes. And a lot of people are also on that vaccination that, they take a side, and some have to have it and some don't want it. And so, yeah, we're seeing a mass exodus.
I know there's a lot of people in the healthcare field that are dealing with that, as well as the education field. And I mean, I've talked about this so much as an OT, and there is an educational shortage of teachers. And that means it's going to be even worse because in New York, and we're both from New York, in the next 5 years, one third of people that are in the New York State teachers retirement system are eligible to retire. So that means people who are eligible to retire are very likely to retire, as well as the people who might not even make it till their retirement age, and they're just burnt and upset and unhappy. And so what are some options for the pivot? Let's talk about the pivot.
So a lot of people, again, they want to use their knowledge and their expertise, but they want to use it in a way that they haven't traditionally used it. So maybe they want to get out of patient-facing care. They don't want to go into hospital systems. They don't want to be in people's homes. So what they want to do is they want to pivot into a similar career, but not with the same title and less clinical work. So non-clinical, non-patient facing. So there's a ton of stuff out there that I don't even think we realize because we get stuck in our OT box or our PT box.
Yeah.
And every time we do a job search, that's the terms we put in. So I think expanding your terms, look for coordinator roles, navigator roles, utilization review, medical necessity, leadership, healthcare admin, medical device sales. I did a video the other day about non-clinical search terms, and a lot of people don't realize that companies like Hanger, they hire clinicians to go out and train people on their equipment. So it's a really cool opportunity if you're
Yeah.
in a stage of your life where you can travel and do that kind of thing. That may be something worth pursuing that still uses all that specialized knowledge you've
Right.
acquired throughout your career. So there's so much out there.
I
There's
like the
also
sales idea too. I remember being like impressed when I went to the AOTA conference a couple years in a row. They had new clothing companies there, and the clothing companies had these amazing adapted clothes with magnets and Velcro, and they just looked so cool and so great. And the people that were selling us the clothing were occupational therapists, and I was like, that is fun. I would love to sell clothes. Like, it's just a different thing that I would never have thought of. But I mean, yeah, those kinds of opportunities are out there. I also just was talking to someone the other day who has a real talent with art. Like, she's an artist, but she's an OT, and she's been picking up side gigs doing illustration work for people who are writing children's books, and the children's books are about OT things.
how cool
So,
is that?
books about sensory processing and books about, social emotional health with children. And I'm like, that is just a really cool thing to do. And she's still working full time, but that's like her thing, and it's her passion. She loves being an artist, and I mean, how cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And going off of that, if if you're really good at tech, there's so much stuff on the healthcare tech side that's not clinical, not patient facing. There's health informatics, there's UX research, UX design, there's graphic design. There's a huge need for user accessibility for websites and things like
Mhm.
that, especially for all these older patients who never had to go onto a website and
Yes.
input their information, or
Yes.
they don't know how to navigate the Medicare website to figure out what's covered and what's not.
Or how
As
to
a
do
clinician,
Uber to get to their doctor's appointments.
yes, there's
Simple
so
things
much
like
like
that.
that.
Yeah, that's
Companies hire clinicians with clinical backgrounds to work on their apps to say, hey, what can we do to improve this app so that our users can navigate it more easily and they want to use it, because we don't want
right.
to use things that are hard.
Right.
And they need people who have that specialty knowledge of
Mhm.
how people utilize things so that they can increase accessibility to all these apps. And almost every single app has a team that does just that, and it's a great position for clinicians because
Yes.
they've been on that patient side and they know what modifications and accommodations need to be put in place for accessibility. So there's so much out there.
Yeah, I think another thing to consider too is, I know we've been talking about people who might want to get out of patient care, and I know a lot of people who are in the field actually love the patient care, and
Mhm.
it's the working with the families and working with the people that brings them joy. I know when I worked on the side in a hospital, like, I loved that. I loved
Mhm.
communicating with the patients and learning about their lives and things like that.
Yeah.
But the things that aren't great to me were, the productivity rates and all of that kind of, the corporate stuff. So there is an opportunity to stay with patient care, but go in a different direction, or go for a
Mhm.
different company, or even work privately. I mean, there are so many families that would love an OT to work privately with their family member, whether it's a child or an adult, or, and those families are out there. It's just really a matter of finding them.
Mhm. Yeah. And there's therapists that specialize in parent coaching. Joni just got her screen coach certification. So she helps families navigate screen time with their kids.
Oh,
So
that's
there's
cool.
so many things that align with what we do and our values that
Mhm.
are non-traditional, that can bring us so much happiness because it still gives us that sense of service that we all went into healthcare
Yes. Yes.
seeking.
Yes.
So there's just so much stuff out there. And I do want to tell people you don't have to stay inside your box. You don't have to keep the letters behind your name are important, but they're not everything. And you have so many skills and such specialized knowledge that you could go into so many different areas and be really fulfilled, even if it's not traditional therapy or traditional nursing or whatever you were doing before. But just be honest with yourself. If you're not happy, figure out what's making you not happy. Is it the work culture? Is it productivity? Is it the hours? Is it the commute? Sometimes, like, I don't like driving, so a long commute for me is a deal breaker. I
Yeah.
don't I don't want to spend 2 hours in a car or an hour in a car and take that time out of my day. So for me, that's a deal breaker. I also like a lot of autonomy. So I don't need to be micromanaged. I don't thrive under micromanagement. I don't know if anybody thrives under micromanagement. So getting really clear on your non-negotiables is what we call them. So what do you need out of your career that will make you feel purposeful and happy? And
So
it could be leadership. It could be any of that stuff.
would you suggest that anyone who's kind of feeling like, yeah, that's me, I'm feeling a little stuck, I'm not really happy, what should they do? Should they make a list of what makes them unhappy, what they don't want, and what they would love? They should make a list. And then I know you were talking also about considering your life role, which is really huge because that does go then to your values. Do
Yeah.
I need to be home more for my kids, or do I need to have the evenings free because I've got to go help my mom and give her medication, or all those other things? That's an important consideration as well.
Yeah, so I would recommend the first thing that you do is actually look backwards. So look over your entire career history and kind of see how you navigated to where you are now, and really look at each position and see what you liked and what you didn't like. Like, for example, I loved teaching. I really, really liked when I taught. So I tried to create a career where I still got to incorporate sharing knowledge with people and serving people in that way.
Yeah.
So I knew that was something that I liked to do. I knew I liked independence, and I like making my own schedule, and I like working when I want to work, and I like working from home. So all of those things I use to create a career that really fills me up. And it doesn't have to be entrepreneurship. There are so many other options out there if you
Right.
really like working for somebody else and you like that kind of stability and the paycheck. I'm
Right.
more of a risk taker than a lot of people, and I know that about myself. But not everybody's like that. So getting really clear about where you want to go, where you came from, and how you're going to get there.
That sounds like such a good plan. You make it sound easy.
It's hard, and it's a lot of reflection, because what happens is people are unhappy, but they don't really ever take the time to consider what's making them unhappy. They just know Sunday night they can't sleep because they're so stressed thinking about going to work the next morning.
Yeah.
And they know when they get home, they're so tired that they don't want to have a conversation with their spouse because the day just exhausted them.
Yeah.
But
Which
they
is
never
that's
stop.
terrible. That's terrible.
Yeah, it is. It's an awful. I've had that feeling. I think we've all had a position where we were like, living for the weekend. I mean, that phrase came about for a reason, because we're all
Yeah.
living for the weekend, but that's
Right.
not a way to spend your life.
No, it isn't. It definitely isn't. So when we're in a position like this, we make a list of what we do want, what we don't want, and then we really try to think about goals and I guess possibilities. It doesn't have to be I'm going to get a job doing this and making that. It could be I might be interested in this. I might be interested in that, because as we were talking about for the resume boot camp, we were saying that it's really important to know what keywords to look for and to not be stuck in that bubble of that routine of what you were always doing or what you're always looking at. So the keywords are an important part.
Yeah. And a lot of people do it backwards. As soon as they start looking for a new job, the first thing they do is update the resume. And the reason I don't advise to do that is because you need to get clear on what you want to do before you update your resume, because it needs to be targeted towards what you want to do.
Right.
So if you're kind of in this weird limbo where you're not completely happy where you are and you're open to new opportunity, I want you to start projecting into the future and create a vision in your head of what you want that future to look like. Are you working from home? Are you driving to an office? Are you working with kids? Are you teaching? And really get clear on that picture, and then you can find something that aligns with that vision in your head and reverse engineer backwards so that you can establish small steps to get where you want to go. And once you get that picture in your head, you need to ask yourself, is my current position in alignment with where I want to go in the future?
Right.
And if it's not, and you're unhappy, then that is your opportunity to start shifting now, because the groundwork we lay now is
Right.
what our future holds, right? We create our futures. And I want people to realize that we have the power to create our career too. We don't have to get stuck in the hamster wheel of doing the same thing every single day and
No.
wondering what else we could be doing that would be making us more happy.
Right. Create your own pathway. Decide what you want to do and how you want to get there rather than just putting your head down, getting through it another day, another year. I actually have a blog post on my website. It's called An Old OT's Advice for New Contract OTs. And she talks about how she doesn't know what happened, but all of a sudden it's 39 years later and she's in the same job. And this person, her name's Diane Fine. She was my mentor. Like, to this day, I'm so grateful to her. She was amazing. I was a new grad and she was probably my age, and she was the OT in the same room as me. And she was so wonderful and helped me because, very often as a new grad, as a new OT, there's no one helping you or there's no mentorship, nothing, which is not right at all, but you're on your own. And thank God I had her. And she was just amazing to me. And she wrote this post for my blog giving advice to new OTs of don't get stuck. Don't just go with the flow and year after year, because she's like, here I am 39 years later and I'm making what I made 39 years ago.
Yeah.
And she was like, that's not what I work hard. I, work just as hard as the teacher next door to me, but that person's retiring before me. And, it's all those things that are just things we need to consider. We need to consider our life role. We need to consider where we're going. We need to learn how to lay the groundwork. What do we want to do? Where do we want to go?
Yeah.
And does that go with our values as well as our life role now? Because we can also see our life role is not going to be the same in a few years. In a few years, our kids will be out of the house, or our kids will be in school full time, or our parents, might be moving to Florida, and you never know.
Exactly.
So
when I first started, for example, fresh out of school, no kids, no husband, my must-have, my non-negotiables were different. I was very focused on salary and gaining experience and learning.
Right.
And, I'm not going to say how many years down the road, but several years down the road, my life is different. I have 2 small children, and I'm not so much focused on salary anymore. I'm more focused on flexibility because it better fits the stage I'm in.
Right.
So anticipating those stages. And the other thing, when you're setting your goals, your long-term goals, and you're creating that amazing vision in your head, don't only focus on that vision, focus on the barriers that you foresee. So that way, when they do come about, you already know they're coming and you're prepared and you can overcome those barriers, because there's always going to be barriers. Nothing's ever smooth, right?
Of course not.
Even in college, I, failed class and had to retake it, or maybe you didn't pass the boards on the first time, but you still kept going.
Right.
And somewhere we lose that. So it's time to regain that back.
So one of the goals that we both had in common for this year was to make an impact and to help more people, more OT practitioners, more teachers, more everybody, healthcare workers, to kind of find the joy in their lives and to be happy with what they're doing.
Yes. And in our business, in Polish to Prosper, we do a lot of one-on-one service, which is fine. But when I was planning my first quarter goals and my 2022 goals, I had an impact goal. I want to reach more people. I want to help more people and provide them. I have all this information in my head and I want to give it away. Yeah. I want people to get it. So that's why Jamie and I came up with this boot camp idea, because we can help so many people in 2 days. And Joni and I have a 6-week coaching program, but that's a 6-week commitment.
Yeah.
I wanted to give people what they needed and not make them commit to a 6-week program, 1 weekend, and you know what you want to do and you just feel confident in yourself.
And you're ready. You've got a polished resume, sparkling and reflecting the amazing person that you are, or a LinkedIn profile. So we wanted to just talk a little bit about what we've got going on. So it is a weekend long program on, you could pick Saturday, you can pick Sunday, depending on what you want to work on. So Saturday, we are going to be all about resumes, focusing on that resume, all the things, exactly what you need to do, how you need to do it, what it needs to look like, what not to do. Oh my goodness. Those are important things to know when you're thinking about making goal choices, goal changes. And Sunday is going to be all about the LinkedIn profile, which I'm so excited about. And Tanya already went through my LinkedIn profile and gave me some tips and tricks. And I started to make those changes, and I'm like, oh, I really do have a lot of things I want to change about my profile that aren't reflecting what I want to show and what I want to kind of portray myself as a professional or in a professional way. So I've got some work to do on my LinkedIn as well. But what we're going to be doing is working with the people who come to our boot camp in the morning from 11:30 to 1:30. I know already from the intake of the people who told us that they were coming and purchased the boot camp, we've got a lot of busy family moms and busy people. So of course, we're not taking up your whole weekend. We're going to be working with you from 11:30 to 1:30, telling you everything you need to do. You're going to have your resume or your LinkedIn profile right in front of you so you can see the changes you want to make. Then we're taking a break. You're on your own until 6. So you can run, go do what you got to do, give the kids lunch, go, to the mall, go to the gym, do the laundry, all that other good stuff. And then we're meeting back at 6 after you've had a little bit of downtime to do what you need to do to make those updates. The fun part is that in between, you can send your completed resume or completed LinkedIn profile to Tanya, and she's going to be able to go over it. Some of the people will have a chance to apply for the hot seat, and your thing will be featured live, and she'll give you exact tips and tricks for what you need to make your profile or resume completely optimized.
Yes. And if you have career goals in 2022, you're going to have to update your resume anyway. So come do it with us. We're wicked fun. You want to be with us. Trust me.
We're going to have a lot of fun. But
Don't
what
do
I
it on
think is
your own.
that there is a little bit of an accountability. So, I mean, I think that you can hear what you need to do for your resume, and you can, be like, oh, that's a good idea, I'll do that. But when do you actually sit down and just be like, I'm just going to do it? I've got to do it for myself. And I think sometimes too, like, oh, I don't have time, I don't have a whole Saturday. It's not a whole Saturday, it's not a whole Sunday. It's a little 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the night, and then in between you can make your own schedule as to how you want to do that work and implement it on your own. But at the end of the evening, you're finished. Your resume is done. Your LinkedIn profile is done. It's polished like a diamond, and you're ready for whatever that pivot might be. Or even if it's just an upkeep to stay. I think we have a lot of new grads I've been hearing are interested. Like, I'm going to be done soon and I don't know what to put. I don't have work experience. How do I make myself still look good on a resume? So I'm excited for us to, and I know we have limited amount of seats. So we have a small, intimate group. We're going to really be able to work with the people in this cohort and just make sure that they really are getting the impact that we're looking to do. So I'm really excited about it. I did put the link in the comments. So if anybody's interested in finding out a little bit more about the LinkedIn and resume boot camps, you can go to this link right here. And I want to just make sure, I wanted to put it in the comments on Facebook. Does that work? Does that go there?
I don't know.
I'm not sure either. Okay. But you can go to Miss Jamie OT and just put in the search box LinkedIn and resume boot camps. And I've got a fun post that I just published, or I'm right about to publish in a few minutes, about how to get a direct hire. I get this question all the time. How do I get directly hired for a school district? And like I said, there are people who say, oh, it's on the screen. Someone's telling me, thank you. Yes, I know. I just was I thought if I can put it in the comments, then people can just click it. It's faster. Always all about the easy way. Let's take the shortcut all the time. But anyway, I do have a lot of people who ask me about getting hired. How do I get a district job? Why is there so much red tape? Why aren't districts hiring? And when there is a job, I find out about it right after someone gets it. So I just wrote a blog post about that, and I'm really excited to share it. So stay tuned for that. And hopefully we'll see you guys all at the resume and LinkedIn boot camp. It is going to be fun. We are excited to rev people up, get excited, share our stories, share our history, why we do what we do, and get to know you guys as well.
Yeah. And I convinced Joni, and Jamie's learning this very quickly about me, that when I get excited about something, I just keep making it bigger and bigger. So I convinced Joni that she's going to give away a mock interview coaching package, which retails. So if you book this with Joni, usually it's $219.
Wow.
But I convinced her because we're doing this, I said, let's give somebody an opportunity to practice some interviewing. So she's going to throw that in. And I'm also giving away all my templates. I'm giving away a leadership bundle full of keywords for non-clinical and leadership roles. And
That is
I'm
cool.
giving a sample resume. So who knows? Tomorrow I might throw in something else.
So everybody who purchases the bundle will be getting all of the samples and all of the templates and the interview bundle. But one person is going to be, you'll all be entered into the raffle to win the mock interview. One person will get the mock interview because that's a high ticket item and, time consuming for Joni, who is a professional interviewer, which is so cool. Like, that is amazing. She's an OT who is a professional interviewer. That's a pivot. I love it. All right. Well,
the cool thing about that package too, the cool thing about that package is if you tell her what you're interviewing for, she'll actually create interview questions based on the position. So it's like a real interview.
Yeah.
So you get to do an interview before the interview.
That is really, really awesome and cool. And I saw your school-based OT interview questions and I was like, those are good. Those are good. I actually just sent a newsletter out the other day about my first school-based interview. And one of the questions that they asked me, and it's really nerve-wracking, that whole interview process. So to have the chance to win a mock interview and have written feedback from someone about what you should and shouldn't do, or what you did really well, or what you shouldn't do next time is kind of priceless.
What was the question?
So there was 5 people, first of all. So I was completely like,
mine was a panel interview too.
Yes. And I was not expecting it at all. 5 people. And, of course they were perfectly nice, but I was still scared to death. And so they asked me all these generic questions, why do you want this job? What makes you, perfect for this job? And why do you want to work with kids? Blah, blah, blah. And then one of them out of the blue goes, what is your biggest strength and your biggest weakness as an OT?
That's a killer question, right?
No, I had only been working as an OT for not very long, less than a year. And I just didn't have an answer in my head at all, nothing. And I remember to this day that when I answered that I was like yelling. I don't know why, but I was just like so nervous that I was like, wow. And then I remember being like, I was like in myself, like inside boy, why are you screaming? And I was really happy with my answer though, to this day. I was very, very true, but I said my biggest strength as an OT is that I absolutely love OT. Like, I just love what I do. I love the kids. I'm happy to be here. And it shows in my face that I'm happy to be at work because I really like what I do. And that's my biggest strength. And then for the weakness, I was like, and I know a lot of times they say, well, pick a weakness that's really not a weakness. Like, I'm a perfectionist. I won't leave until it's done. But what I said was, I've only been an OT for a short time and there's just so much more that I want to learn. And
that's good.
Yeah. And I said that would be my weakness. I've only been an OT for a year and, I really want to take more classes about this. And I think I'm going to get my master's in special education. And I'm not, there's just so many classes I want to take and things I want to learn. So I would say that would be my biggest weakness. And
that's the secret to that question. You nailed it. That's the secret.
I agree. I really agree. I thought that was a great answer. And it was the truth. It really was the truth. I mean, I'm sure I have other faults, of course, but I wasn't going to tell them.
Well, that's the secret. Whenever they ask you that question, because that's a very common interview question, once you state your weakness, so for you, it was inexperience, not having enough knowledge about the position.
Yeah.
You had an action plan. So you said, this is my weakness, but this is how I'm going to gain knowledge. This is what I'm going to do to make sure that's not my weakness anymore.
Yes.
And that's the secret to answering that question.
I didn't know about your CAR challenge action result template.
Well, Joni does STAR behavior.
I just got lucky that it came out of my mouth and I did get offered the job. I didn't take it though, because it was too far away.
You didn't take it?
No. It did not align with my values. It was really, really, really far drive. I was like, I can't drive this far. No.
That's a deal breaker for me too.
Yeah.
Especially we're in New York, so winter is awful here.
Yes.
So, yeah. So hopefully we'll see everybody Saturday, 2 days away.
Thank you, everybody who joined us. We're so happy that you were here, and I hope you got some good information. And the Great Resignation is with us. So if you're going to pivot, definitely join us so that you are prepared with the tools you need.
Yeah, and if you have questions, about anything related to career, put them in the comments and I will pop into one of the groups and answer them. So,
Okay.
all right. Have a great
Have a
night,
good night,
everybody.
everybody. See
See
you
you
this
soon.
weekend.